Hello and welcome to Penny for a Tale. While we figure out whether or not we're live, I'm just going to assume that we are. Um, if you're familiar with the format, why are you laughing?
Because I'm like refreshing the page and it's not
You
saying
got some. All
anything.
right. See if you got something to say.
Not what I
No,
had.
I I'm the worst. No, we're live.
we're on the
We're
case.
live.
It says
We're
we're
live.
live. Okay, so we are live. Hey Daniel, this has been your introduction. It's good to have you. I've got a diet AMW and a bunch of patience, so I think everybody's going to get along swimmingly. Tonight we have Sam Davis. We'll be basically talking about tabletop games starting yesterday and going back to the beginning of the universe, with a focus on just our experiences, because I'm not a historian or a physicist.
I'm a
So-
historian.
You're a historian? Okay, so
Yes.
walk us through from the start of the universe, roughly what tabletops is.
I'm talking like right after the Big Bang. That's what I want to
Right
hear.
after the Big Bang.
No, well before the Big Bang.
What came before?
Sam, chime in. You're the historian.
Well, I was just wondering if Daniel was going to pontificate about what came before the Big Bang.
No, dude, you can't. She just said pontificate. You got to back out. This ain't. You're not winning this one.
I'm pretty sure I can keep up with vocabulary that includes pontificate. Thanks.
Then you
Can
go,
you?
man. You take it.
No, see, now I lost my train of thought trying to defend myself and my vocabulary.
See, it takes one long word and everything crumbles.
Everything just falls to
Slowly.
shit.
Hey,
Just
the word of today, pontificate.
Right.
syllables.
I know. I'm
It's making
teaching
me angry.
syllables to my 5-year-old right now, and she knows how many syllables pontificate has. So,
Jeez.
no, she doesn't.
So, what was the
Like the 5 years on a track.
No.
what was the first tabletop game you ever played, Sam?
So, surprise, I've only been playing tabletop games for a year. And I started with Pathfinder and then went to Cult. And now I can't play Pathfinder anymore. So,
Oh, you can what? Why can't you
Nah.
play Pathfinder? Get out of here.
no, I can't. It's just the last time I tried to hop into a Pathfinder game, the people were like, spent the majority of the time talking rules. And I have issues with just people chatting about rules. I'm like, I just want to play the game.
Ooh, that's pretty interesting because that's something we tackle so infrequently now with Penny. When I first started playing Pathfinder, that was all that I had to focus on because there was so much to learn. I don't notice a lot of rules lawyership going on at all for any games that we play, like even the crunchy stuff.
No,
And
maybe
now
that's our
I have-
issue.
I don't. So like, I used to have a patience for it. When people would argue about rules, I'd be like, well, how high is the block? And like, what can you see? Like, maybe you actually have cover and maybe he doesn't. And I think you guys are flanking. And now it's just like, what do I think is interesting? Like, it's become this like
Right.
weird, like caveman thing. Where like somebody asks me if something works or not. And I'm just like, is it fun? Like, does it make my brain happy to see? And it's so like, instead of being like a sophisticated and calculating arbiter as a GM, I'm just the guy like in an arena, like unleashing the lions on the gladiators, where I just want to see like cool shit happen. And sometimes it's actually a bad thing, because I feel like with a little bit of deliberation, the game has like, it's got more weight. And I think that's something I realized more recently is like a crunchy system has really high stakes. So for an extremely rules light system, I never walk into it thinking I'm going to die, because we wouldn't put the story where I would just sort of get killed in one turn. But with Pathfinder, someone springs a trap and it rolls a critical hit, and all of a sudden you're dealt lethal damage that you can't make a save for, and they're just dead. So there's a very real fear, even in me as the GM, that one player can make a mistake and then they'll die for it, and I can't really do anything about it. I just have to like look at it and be like, yeah, you're fully dead, and I did not expect that. And it makes writing really scary as a GM because it's not like writing a book where I know the outcome. It's like I genuinely don't know what's happening.
No, that's why I just throw all the ideas. Like when I first started GMing, I'd like write out these detailed story plans of what I thought was going to happen. And yeah, first session, I'm like, well, yeah, you guys did nothing I had planned for.
Yeah, like, so what I've learned from GMing is you keep it short and sweet with bullet points. You hit your and your bullet points are plot points, and then you have like asterisk, like character arcs that you can fit in if somebody falls into that area. Like if they go to this area, then I could slide in this kind of clever story plot or something like that. Otherwise, than that, like characters or PCs in general are chaos incarnate. You cannot try to stranglehold anybody. You get some really imaginative people together, and you just let them go wild in a scene that you set. And it generally turns out okay, but then sometimes you get the one person that just kind of wants to sit there and not vibe with the plot and not really do anything.
That's when you kill them.
That's just me being salty.
Yeah, I have definitely been there. I think that's the focus of this show is it's like everybody who's come on has had GMing experience, and it's a very different. It would be the hardest thing to explain from my life from an outside perspective. Someone's like, what is it like GMing? Like if somebody asks me, somebody who's never played even if they've never played board games, they want to know what it's like playing Dungeons and Dragons. I'm like, okay, it's math and it's improv. And you're reading a book with friends. That's basically what it feels like. They're like, what is GMing? And it's like, I don't know. My brain hurts and I black out. And 3 hours later, I'm in a really good mood and people are like giving me head pats. And it's extremely stressful because you have to think about it all day, every day. You have to like have it in the back of your mind. You're like cooking something. Really unique experience. Sam, have you done a lot of GMing?
What do you consider a lot? So like
A lot, like bigly.
Bigly.
Yeah.
I think my first time GMing was Dread. If you've played that with the Jenga tower.
Oh no.
I wrote a scene and we ran Dread at my house, and I literally had people like hiding behind their chairs because it was so stressful.
Wait, so can you describe how this game works? I've never heard of it.
Me
and
either.
I already
I'm
really hate it. I really hate it already.
Favorite game. Yeah.
I hate it.
So think cult and like the dark sort of like ambiance of the game. And then you have this Jenga tower, and each sort of like decision you make, you have to pull from the tower. And once the tower falls, like your character dies at any point in the story. And so like at first people are just like pulling like pieces. They're like, okay, we're going to investigate this, investigate that, try and use this radio. Like my scenario was they were college students going through the Grand Canyon when their guide, like got mauled by some sort of beast.
Yeah.
No technology type thing. And so like, but then as you get into it and you realize like, shit, like if I pull this piece, the entire tower is going to fall. Then they stop making decisions, but then consequences come from that too. So it's just like super high tension. Yeah.
No, I'm down.
That.
I love it.
Wow.
Party at Sam's house.
I was thinking about that because I've noticed there's this thing where people get fatigued about dice systems over time. Like a lot of people really hate D20 systems just because they've done it so much. Mm-hmm. So they try to break it up. They do like the backwards D20 where you want to roll high instead of low. Low instead of high, and then like multiple D6 systems, and then like 100 D4 systems where you're just like, people are just trying. I wanted to just make a system where you're just doing like the weirdest versions of random number generation. So like deck of cards, tarot cards, magic 8-ball, open a fucking fortune cookie.
I want a game with a magic
whatever.
8-ball. Oh my god.
And it's like outlook not so good, and the GM's like, oh boy.
Oh my god.
Does this character survive? Not today.
Yeah. Ask again later. Be like, oh, he does for now.
I love it.
It would have. I feel like it would have to be like 80s nostalgia or something. It would have to
So-
play into the theme of it.
What's the worst dice system you've ever like, or the worst like rolling system you've ever played with, or like factoring system?
I'm gonna say, uh, rolling multiple dice that are small is much worse than rolling big dice. So like the systems where you're rolling like 4d6 because it takes the flat probability where each number has the same outcome and it turns it into a curve. So the game is things get way more predictable. So like if you're rolling 66, you're almost always getting roughly the same number because it becomes a curve. You never get that like really high and you never get that really low. So it just ends up being very predictable. Whereas when someone's like roll a d100, the worst outcome and the absolute best outcome are the equal odds of every other outcome, and it's very much there's like tension there that I think you don't really get when you have systems where people are rolling like 100 d4s.
So with my experience, like the D100 system, or like the percentile dice, that's the worst because there's so much math that goes into it when like you got to
Come at
figure
me.
out how much you succeed by it. Like, because that's what I learned on. That's my first system that I learned, and like for like Dark Heresy, you take 2d10. So this one is my percentile dice, and this is the singular dice. You roll it. I got a 90 exactly. So I would then have to find out how many factors I succeeded by, and that would then tell me in turn what I was able to accomplish on another table. Dark Heresy was the game of 1,000,001 tables.
Oh,
It was
hard
stressful.
pass.
Nope.
Hard pass on those tables. Another a tip that I like, if I'm trying to figure out a roll for something, I just tell somebody to roll a 20-sided die, like before they even know what their modifiers are, because there's a 10% chance I already know the outcome, mostly for certain things. Because if there's a 10% chance they roll a 1 or a 20, usually I've got a pretty good idea of what's going to happen if they roll a 1 or a 20 or like a 2 and a 19 even. So like if I'm ever in a pinch with Pathfinder, I fudge it so much. I'm just like, just roll dice for me. I'm trying to keep things going because it's really easy to take very crucial and action-packed moments. The more action that is in a scene in Pathfinder, the slower the combat is going to take, and it should be
Hate
the
that.
opposite. It should
Yeah.
feel blinding. You should like blink, and then like half of your friends are dead, and there's blood everywhere. It shouldn't be like, yeah, that the next 2 rounds are going to take 35 minutes. Sorry, and you're just like, where's the tension?
Right.
Where's the like? I don't want to pull out a graphing calculator. I want to fight something right now.
See, any game that I need a calculator for, I'm like, nope, I don't know about this.
Yeah, just ditch it.
Yeah.
Not a fan. I mean, virtual tabletop does help a lot,
It's
a
better.
lot. But
So, like, even although I do like playing our games like on stream and everything, I do miss in-person games, and I miss them something awful because
Ugh, my
there's
heart's really sad now.
there's nothing better than like you come up to your friend's house on Saturday, and you all sit down around the table. You put them dice away, sir. You put them away right now.
shh.
Oh, are we grading our dice?
Hold on. Let me turn up the gain.
Need a bowl.
I had to pour one out for the boy.
But I mean, there's nothing better than like getting together around a table, and you're all hanging out, and you while other people are running their more important scenes that like pertain to the storyline, you can just kind of have side conversations and just kind of hang out. So, and then
Eat snacks.
you also have more time, and there are certain scenes that I do feel is rushed on stream that we usually
Yeah.
could take time with.
Sam, so you have not been playing tabletop games very long. Were you really just like a couple months in when lockdown started?
Yeah.
Because yikes, that sucks. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
And-
No.
Yikes! You jumped right into being a GM.
Well,
Wow.
So my group, the group that I met, like we just had moved here. I looked at Meetup and I'm like, I've always wanted to try D&D. Pathfinder looks similar to D&D, so I'm just gonna go for it. And then that's
Yeah.
where I met Mitch. And then Mitch was like, let's play Cult, let's go do these other things. And now I'm like, on penny for a tail.
That's-
Mitchell's like a gateway drug when it
For real.
comes to fucking tabletops.
Yeah, he's the guy with the trench coat and it's got like dice on the inside.
I never knew. I was
Hey,
just
kid.
like this innocent lady. And
You want to try some systems? I've got all kinds of systems here.
it's so
Yeah.
true. No, Daniel, I think it was you on like a previous show that said like you don't have like a third game. It's like you have your first game, second game, and then it's just like explodes. Like
Yeah,
that's how it was. Yeah.
it's very very much that all, like, because I feel like when you quantify it in terms of like experiences, you have your first game experience, and you're kind of just like caught up in the moment of finally doing this, and then you're trying to grasp the mechanics of it and build a character and all this other shit. The second game is, you're making more of a bond with the people that you're playing with, and then the third game is where you really get to enjoy the story, where I am like most people are attracted to about the game. Like, there are some people I've played with that are number crunchers, and they're solely about statistics and rolling and like min-maxing characters. And then there's people like who run games like Ian who just bring amazing stories to life, and I would rather play in a story-driven game like Pathfinder than I would in a number crunching game ever again.
True.
That's good because I'm not good at numbers and I hate having to do like treasure and stats and stuff. I'm just making stuff up.
Right. And that's another thing. Throughout this whole game, our whole game, I have not once heard anybody in the whole campaign say, so what are we going to do about this loot? Or what did
I
they drop?
invite them to try. That is the day that mimics become a staple in my campaign. You greedy bastards. I mean, I bring down deities. You guys speak to kings. You want treasure? Jeez.
Like, my thing, like, I've never once felt compelled to be like, oh, what does Salix get? Because Salix has a fucking 2 godly blessed arms. Like, at the very end of the day, if he doesn't get anything for the rest of the goddamn campaign, he can punch fire and sound. Like, what more can I want?
Yeah.
It's the
guys.
best.
He's too cool. I have trouble because I know we're halfway through the campaign and I have to somehow like top it, and I don't know how the hell I'm going to do it. But
Right now we're in like the
yeah, I've got some
heartbreak.
ideas. Yeah.
I don't know
Oh,
if
I
I could
love
do
it.
Sunday. It's gonna be
Oh,
rough.
Sam, you
It's
got
great.
a cameo. I need to get you back on.
I mean, that was a great episode, playing those Kuja elves and
Oh,
Did
Oh,
you-
man.
oh,
I just like
one
Rusty
of the
Mitch,
best one of the
so-
best sessions I've ever run in my modest career as a GM.
Oh man.
Was that scene. I remember everybody was just like when you were like, and I'm gonna rip out that earring and just chuck it at Mitchell, and I was like,
I was literally
go
like
off.
freaking out all day. Like after Mitch had asked me to come on, I'm like, oh shit, this like that was my first ever streamed game. So I was a mess.
That was your
So-
first ever stream game.
First ever streamed game, yeah.
Wow, I was quite sure you had a lot more experience than me because like so I was freaking out because at the time Mitchell was like, "Hey, can I bring a guest on?" I was like, "All right, like 5 people, sure." Then he messages me back like an hour before the game, like, "I got 3." I was like, "Oh, okay."
Yeah.
Let me just like create 3 characters real quick.
Wait, were these the Enzo Cool?
the spouses?
lovers?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. Well, it was like 8 people that night.
Oh my god! So
That's
I
crazy.
missed that night. I did like that. I was
Oh,
out
yeah.
that game.
Alex
I
did
was,
too.
so
Yeah.
I
Did you?
I got like bits and pieces of the episode from watching it after the fact, but like it looked like a great episode, honestly.
It was my so sometimes I do that episode where like I uplift a character and then like keep giving them like little wins left and right. Sometimes it's a beatdown. Like with the director where I was just like, this is his beatdown episode. Like after the first book, he had his play and we sort of I just kind of like he like ascended to a higher level of like just like one success after the other. Like he nailed the play, got the girl, went and partied. Like it was just all fun for him. Um, and then like later for book 2, we had like the beatdown where I was just like, now you're depressed. Your show sucks. Everybody hates you. Your friends are dying. Like, I'm just like trying to. Uh, it was Enzo Cool's beatdown episode, which was like, here are your 3 spouses. They all are telling you one after another that you're out of shape. They all look disappointed. Here's your people. They all kind of hate you. And your spouses want a divorce.
Yep.
Oh, and not to
And-
mention, the people in the party really can't fucking stand you.
It was just supposed to be like pop, pop, pop.
Yeah, I was
Um,
surprised. Like no one like stood up to protect them. They're just like, yeah.
So
He's
my thing
irritating.
is, when I only actually played in like 3 games with Enzo Cool, but when Mitchell makes like an arc for a character, he goes all or nothing for that arc. Like, and Enzo Cool
Yeah.
was annoying as hell to everyone. Just inappropriately
Yeah.
annoying.
And I would even go so like he won't even give them a road to redemption. Like a redemption arc is not promised. And that's why I didn't feel bad about his story not having closure, because it almost did teach a good lesson about like you can't just run away from home for 30 years and then come back and be hailed if you haven't really done anything. Because he didn't have a happy ending. He went out to train. You guys never heard from him again. He never came back from that mission. And his spouse was just like, well, what? I mean, I guess the wilderness ate him. Like,
Serves them
who
right.
knows? I mean, maybe he's returned to see the ruins of Daria, like the husk.
Meh.
We'll
That's
see.
what I gotta say.
Yeah,
Meh.
you guys. I hope you guys come back to the village. The
I
jungle.
want to so. My thing is this is all like canon under your universe for Pathfinder, right? We've the game like the choices we make in this game will affect another game you do down the line, correct?
Yes, I like to think so, because I feel like I will have wasted time otherwise.
I hope that one day I get to play in that campaign that is sequel to this one, and I just can't fucking wait. I hope
Why?
we get
What
to
you
go
got?
to the Mwangi Expanse. I hope we get to go to Breach Hill if it's still there.
Ooh, a
Hope
little
we get
breach
to-
hill. No, I'm gonna destroy it. I'm gonna giant meteor.
Giant Meteor 2020.
Yeah, giant meteor.
That's basically 2020 right there.
4722 AR. Yeah, I sure hope so. I like to just keep one universe going because it's just a lot of reading. Otherwise, I don't like. I can't. It's one thing to learn rules a bunch, because I mean, with Pathfinder, you're always learning rules, because the first edition they made rules for 10 years, and then now second edition has rules coming out all the time. So like, that's a given. But having to learn new settings sounds exhausting to me, because I like to be able. I like having knowledge, a compendium of lore before I walk into a session. So I don't know if I could switch from like Pathfinder Galarian Paizo setting to like Dragon Age. I can't just do that. And I see people who do that all the time. They're like, using the Pathfinder rules, we're going to be playing an Elder Scrolls, whatever. And I'm like, literally, how do you do that? Because that sounds exhausting. It sounds like every single week you're making new creatures. And I don't make creatures. I don't do creatures. Like, I will use bestiary stat blocks until the day I die. Thank you very much. I don't know. I'm a bad GM when it comes to prep. I just can't do it.
So
You have pages of notes.
yeah.
Like, you're fine.
what I do is, because I switch through a lot of settings. Like I have pretty much all of the Invisible Sun game, but I'm probably not gonna run it for until well after lockdown's over. And
Right.
I have like separate stories that I want to enact, and some of them, like Scion, are only like a season long. So they might go a little bit up past a season, but they can generally be wrapped up in like 10 or more sessions, 10 or less sessions. So I have no problem instituting different scenario or different systems and things. I feel like with Invisible Sun, it's a little bit easier because all the equipment and everything is cards. Like your spells, cards. Like I have 3 binders full of different cards of like equipment, spells, and things that I can just dole out and be like, these are the spells you know. Hold on to them. You're gonna need them.
Yeah, honestly, um, card based. It's just such a good. It's a different headspace. It works so very differently. Um, but it works. I mean, because I feel like a lot of people do that early on for the crunchy systems like Pathfinder D&D. They print out cards for every ability they have. I mean, they even sell like little cards for conditions and stuff. Um, has absolutely no use in virtual tabletops. But I mean, I have definitely. I mean, for crit, like the. Have you ever used the crit deck
Yeah.
for anything for Pathfinder? So basically, it's a bunch of random critical fumble or success effects, and they're categorized. So there's like 4 on each card, one for whatever type of attack it was. Um, and it's a gamble because sometimes it's like they can't hear, they're deafened. It's like that's not whatever. And sometimes it's like they die, they just die, and you're like.
Outright.
And then the magic ones for critical effects were just insane. It would be like it opens up a portal, a dimension door to a random. I'm like, what? From just a spell critical? Like, yeah, no,
I'm gonna need that. Like, can we
Like
use it?
it.
it's fun. It's just it's chaotic. It's
So,
man, that would be
Sam, since you like kind of hopped in all like right off the bat and started running your own games pretty much, what would you say is the payoff for you as being a GM? Like, what do you gain from being a GM that you don't get being a player?
Oh, tough question. Um, hmm. A lot of it I feel like is just I like telling stories. Um, and again, just like making an experience for people to kind of like have and enjoy and go through. And I feel like I'm able to shape, well, as a GM, you could shape that more. And so maybe it's just a control thing. I like being in control, but yeah, I'm just a bitch, I guess. No.
that's valid.
No, I just like, I've always wanted to write a book and that just hasn't panned out, but being able to do these stories and have, the people play in them and go through that, I feel, I don't know, it's just really rewarding and fun. And, I never thought I'd get like this much fulfillment from just being a GM.
Right,
It's
I
just like,
gotcha.
yeah, having those players say like, that was awesome at the end. I'm just like, ah,
It's
it's the best feeling.
it's intoxicating. When
It
people are
is.
getting high
Yeah,
marks. You just sit there like, oh,
I got
oh,
that. I got the like. I ran a really good session, like a really good session, probably twice in my GMing career, and I was like, oh, this is why people do this. Like, people are like, oh, that was awesome. I can't wait to see what happens. And then like the next time
yeah.
we all get together, if we get together after that, I feel like I just can't follow it up. I'm like,
It's
Yeah.
it's real hard to replicate your because of like naturally regression to the mean. So if you do better than normal, it's always just gonna sort of slide usually back to your average. So you always have a weird feeling of like, why can't I go back to that? But it's also just like, I don't know, a lot of it's random.
Yeah.
Sometimes stuff sticks.
You're also just, I feel like, becoming more critical of yourself because you have more experience now. You feel like you know how games should be. And then people tend to overanalyze like how people are reacting. So like I was running a game and I think it was Mitch and he was just sitting there and the entire game I had convinced myself that he was not having fun, that he was bored out of his mind. And then like, it turns out like it was fine, he was having fun, but it's just like us as people tend to overanalyze things, tend to think everything's going bad when it's not as bad as we're making it out to be. So
Yeah.
maybe that's just me.
I remember the first game I GM'd. It was for Overlight, and I was not familiar with the system at all. I got lucky, and we played at the game store that the creators owned. So whenever I had questions, I could just run up front and be like, "Hey, um, what does this mean?" And they're like, "Oh, okay. So pretty much take 2 dice and roll it, and then whatever." Uh, but anytime I saw like a player pull out their phone or start doing something like to themselves that wasn't involved, I thought that I had to engage them right away. And so I lost my voice for like 2 days after that game because I was constantly like talking to everybody, trying to spew all these plot points
Oof.
out, and like I couldn't speak, and I was like,
That was me.
"Hey guys."
100%. That was my first year of running games. Was just constantly overthinking things
Yeah.
and just not. Ugh. Oh, it's
Some
cringy to think
people
about.
just are not the ones that want to be like front and center and have, plot points revolving around them. And it took me a couple games to realize, like with this one person I was with, that they liked just sitting there and listening, and I didn't need to keep trying to draw them in. Like they were engaged and interested, but they, like I didn't need to like keep being like, hey, so what do you think? How are you feeling about what's going on? Like they were fine.
Send
Right.
them my way.
It's very
I love a
much
chill player.
much of like some especially what I've realized with like Pathfinder is sometimes you play a support role and you play your
Oh,
role really well, and you build up your player. And I love it because when we build up Mr. Smith for Rune, like we put Rune on such a high pedestal. We all do it. Everybody in the party puts Rune on this stupidly
I
unobtainable
love it.
pedestal,
I
just
love it.
because whenever he doesn't reach it and shatters, it's just that much more heart wrenching. And I love it, and I love being a
It.
supporting character in his storyline altogether.
So I was terrified because that is the horror story. If you think about like RPG horror stories, it's always a story of like this one player or this one character run by the GM, like their NPC, whatever, has the spotlight and it makes the rest of the characters look useless. I was terrified that it was going to happen with Rune, just because he was like the wizard that sort of got wrapped up, especially in the beginning. He was wrapped up in a lot of things that made him seem central. Um, but it's played against him as much as it's helped him. And overall, I feel like it's helped a lot that he suffers from being at the spotlight as much as he benefits from it. So in a way, it's not like he's the main character, like not even a little bit
Right.
the main character.
So, like, Sam, you said you wanted to write a book. Like, with have you ever read a book before that's like from multiple perspectives? Like each chapter is a different character's perspective.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think you would be able to write a book like that based off of a game you ran? Like if you ran the best game of your life, you put everything you had into this game, and you took like super detailed notes and everything. Do you think you could write a book like that?
I feel like I want to say yes, but I'm like, is that too pretentious?
Not at all, because
No.
that's my whole reason of running games. Is one day I want to run a game that like after it wraps up, I want to sit down and be like, look at my notes after it's done and be like, you know what? I'm going to try and get this shit published. Like, I want to like do this justice forever.
Aw.
But
Nice.
I don't know if I'm the only one that feels like that because I'm also really narcissistic.
Now, I just worry that like if I, like run an amazing series of like Pathfinder, want to write a book, that I feel like I then need to create my own magic system to go with it to describe that as like an author, because then someone will read it and just be like, oh, that's a cheap knockoff of,
Yeah.
something in Path, but which doesn't really explain how magic works. But I'm also not very much into Pathfinder lore, so
So, my my bane with any kind of writing is the fact of like, especially because I love fantasy, trying to just like develop your own magic system. It kills. Like,
it's so hard.
it's
Yeah.
you,
And for systems, the modern systems as they come out, they're sort of designed to be extremely inclusive about certain things. So Pathfinder doesn't have a magic system because it has every magic system. I mean, you have the witch that communes with like an animal who also communes with a god, but you also have the like it's in your blood. You also have the like it's a book. You also have the like you're a rogue and you're just like playing with wands. I mean, it has every single version of every magic system. So even if you were to pick one, you just get a player who's like, "Hey, can I be a cleric?" I'm like, okay, I guess. Yep,
Yeah.
I guess gods are a thing. It's really hard to have a fun setting using Pathfinder because it requires restricting a lot of options. So like if you wanted like a no magic campaign, you're basically telling players, hey, 80% of Paizo content, can't use it. Or like a no deities, you're like, nah, just cut out half of all of the content for character creation. And it feels really weirdly restrictive.
yeah, no, I can't do that.
Yeah,
But
that's my hard thing with Pathfinder. It's just like, okay, you can make a character, but you can only use the AP and like these sources and,
Ugh.
just like all these different things. I'm like, why does making a character have to be this hard?
yeah,
Yeah. Yep. I had someone who's like, just only the core rule book. Like, really? They sort of made stuff for 10 years after that. They just kind of kept making the
Nope.
game better, but let's just go back. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Are we meeting on our Windows XP computers or what's happening?
Like,
I don't know. That's my salt. That's my go off for this week.
yeah, it's hard.
But then I don't know. I was always on the other side where it was like, if it looks good, if it's third party or something, just go for it. And
Yeah.
Mitchell made me regret it.
Oh no.
Within an hour of play on the first session, he created a character that was virtually unkillable by any reasonable means. And I couldn't throw anything at him that wouldn't also threaten the entire party. His power level was just absolutely ridiculous.
oh, are you talking
And
about Rush?
yeah, when he played Rush, it was a lesson. It was a lesson in how third party content works, but also just how Pathfinder First Edition just gets completely out of hand. And I have since fallen in love with Second Edition, and I maybe because of Rush, I don't think I'll ever go back, just because it was so hard to make sure things like felt balanced in a way that just doesn't happen in Second Edition.
There are certain like feats that I see from edition that I wouldn't mind having, like the leadership and everything, but it's just purely for storyline kind of aspect. I wouldn't want to
Right.
go into a fight like trying to control 15 people to fight with. No, that's too many.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't mind having it that way. Like, I wish they would release like a story, like a fluff book for like feats and things like that. Like, this won't really affect anything in your character's life other than story fluff. Like, you get the
Yeah.
feat of being like super like ingratiating into society. Like, you walk into a ball and everybody knows you and you're popular.
Yep.
Like, things like that.
A lot of feats, surprisingly, in First Edition, a lot of feats were intended to do that, but because the game was so crunchy, everyone ignored the flavor text and only stuck with the rules. Because there was this thing about rules as written. Um, So there would be this like, you're a socialite. Everybody's naturally gravitated towards you. +2 to diplomacy. And what a GM sees when they see it is +2 to diplomacy. They don't care about the feat. So for negotiating any sort of advantage with the feat, GM's like, no, out of here. But like what Jen did with her character is she has a feat where if she can see her enemy, she has +2 to the AC against their attack. They made an attack and it hit her, and she asked me if she could take half damage on it because she was looking directly at them. And I was like, yes, you have asked something of me, and I think it sounds interesting and fitting. So yes, it's not at all what the feat does, but for this situation, it sounds like it works. Just take it. And I feel like that's like where people miss what a rules lawyer could be, because that's what being a lawyer is like not being technical, but also just like being polite and a little bit begging. Like I feel like people should be able to do that. Like, can I use this feat for this purpose? It has nothing to do with it, but it makes sense for my character. I'm like, yes, I'm in a good mood. I think that's a great idea. Like rule of cool, you should be able to do
You
it.
have pleased me greatly.
Yeah.
You may use the loo.
One time.
But I mean, there's a ton of things that I wish that I would ask about after the fact in Pathfinder, but then like I only I think about it afterwards, but like so I don't really make too much of a fuss about it. But like there are times like where I have sent Ian a message while a scene's going on. I'm like, hey, can I just like purely describe what's happening next, because it's like towards the end of a battle and we know that it's going to wrap up soon, and it's like overwhelming force versus one person, and it hits Salix's turn. So I'm like, all right, I just want to do something really cool, and he's like, yeah, no, fucking run with it. And so I can just completely unleash this crazy imaginative scene, and that is also something I appreciate 100%, because other GMs are like, yeah, no, you can't do that. No, you don't get to be cool. Sit the fuck down.
That's so weird, because I'm exhausted during it's like you're running a marathon and someone's like, can I carry you for a second? Yes, just do it. Just don't even have to ask. Just like, I don't know. Having to constantly think about what's happening based on the numbers that I'm seeing, like streaming in on the virtual tabletop, it's exhausting. So if someone's like, I'll just take it. Like, good. Give me a 2-minute break. Let me have some time to think and to like process what's going on. Especially because like, yeah, I love that people message me about stuff before they drop in. But sometimes I'm like 4 messages deep. Like 4 different people are like, hey, can I try to do this? And I'm like, I need someone. I like someone to have dialogue with someone else so I can sort this out.
I need an adult.
Like have someone do a thing with not an NPC. Like people talk to each other. I'm busy. I'm thinking.
And like again, like I think like when you snap back to it, like it comes to the fact of like if you were in person, you'd be like, oh, all right, I'll be with you one moment. What are we doing?
He's so good. I need to act with my hands. I'm expressive. I need to slam my hands on the table to scare the shit out of my players.
You know, it's the same thing.
Yell at people for checking their phones. No, I'm just kidding. I'm not like that.
Everyone, put your phone in the basket, while you're at the table.
I cannot. Like in-person meetings, like I'm chronically on my phone. It's not that I'm not paying attention. It's that like if other things are going on with other PC, like if we're all 3 playing a game and Ian is in a scene with you, Sam, I'm not technically supposed to know what's going on in that personal scene. So I'm like, all right, well,
yeah.
Did you need me? Oh, I'm not here? Okay. Well, you do you. Don't be salty because I'm not like, oh my God, what's going on with Sally Mae? Like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Like, gosh.
Next game we play, you have to do that voice.
I think
Golly
Please.
gee willikers, like
I love it.
wow,
can't.
that was something. Yeah, I think the advantage to people like spying on the stuff that they can't hear is that when the exposition does go around to their character, they know right away. So I've had it where like somebody has like a session and a half worth of like juicy stuff that happens over different sessions. And then later they can just say, hey, I'm going to tell the party about this. I'm going to fill them in about what I saw. And then they don't actually have to do it. The parties who actually witnessed it, they're just like, got it. Cool.
Right.
I've witnessed
But
this.
like my
But
thing
it's not
is-
worth it for a
my-
6-hour session person.
Right. But my thing is like if I'm sitting here and like we're in Scion and I'm describing to Sam about a specific incident that her patron god or goddess is helping her with, so it evolves her story arc, but it also slightly intertwines with the main story arc. I don't want the rest of the party to know about it. So, I mean, it's kind of
Yeah.
a double-edged
Yeah.
sword. Like sometimes you just want to drop some hints and be a dick about withholding information, but in other times you just gotta backtrack and double up on the information that you're giving out.
Yeah, it's the hardest decision to ever make as a GM. Is like, how many people, how much of a reveal can I make this? I need this to be as big of a twist as possible. So should I say it early so they have some time to prepare, or should I just completely drop it on you and see what happens, like I did with Salix all of the time? Like, let me just drop this plot twist. I'm gonna drop your backstory, your bloodline, your powers, your deities, your just like everything, just one at a time.
That's why I love Silly so much, because when I made this character, he was supposed to be a fill-in sometimes character, and then he became a over like an every session thing, and I didn't have a backstory for him. I didn't have anything. So Anne was quite literally like, "We're gonna make this up as we go, all right?" And I'm like, "All right, cool."
Little did you know.
And yeah, oh, so good.
So, Sam, what has been your favorite twist, either as a GM or as a player, that you have given out or received in turn?
Oh man. All right. So I don't know if I streamed. It was in Relics, and so we had basically all the angels sort of have this human connection with them, and they, most of the time they just kind of forget about them, kind of go on. But this human connection, I was playing them and just had them continually following. And the group had like, let me start over. I can't talk anymore. I have been drinking too much, so my brain is ridiculous. Okay. Essentially all the humans in the area were being controlled by this demon. They were under some sort of mind control. Except for this angel's human connection, because they were just in close contact, had some sort of immunity. And the person texted me and said that if this person knows, that I'm an angel, they will see this. And so I had described the human just like touching their eye where their relic was. And then all of a sudden the player was like, okay, we're lovers. And like the entire game was them like then focusing on saving this human and essentially becoming useless to everyone because they were so focused on saving this human. And then afterwards they were like, this human made me useless. Like, I think I need to get rid of them. And so I was like, oh no, like I don't know what's gonna happen with that yet, but like they're like, I'm basically like have gone away from my purpose because I care about this human so much. And I'm like, okay.
Wow.
the twist.
When angels murder people.
Well, I mean, if you read the Bible, like, what are angels always doing?
They do be murdering people.
Murdering.
It's so weird because it's like fantasy goes so many places. Like every concept you can possibly conceive, and a fantasy setting will basically touch it, but it never boils down to anything except the relationship between individuals and their own idea of what their purpose is. So like once you've got that formula of like how a person thinks about their own purpose, everything else is just sort of just a mechanic to get them to those crazy points. And it's so weird because it happens at session 1 where it's like there are ruffians in town, and then it happens at session 40 when it's like kill God. You're like, okay, it's
Just
always just that same feeling of people trying to figure out like what their purpose is. It just gets so nuts as it ramps up and up and up. And that's why you have to just kill off characters and bring them back so you can restart it.
I love
100%. So watch out, Salix.
Can we not, please?
We can't. I don't know if I can yet. I'm not
Can you
done with them.
imagine that session? Like,
Someone else is dying though.
Real tears. Like I would cry real man tears. Like
I think I
they
would
don't
too.
have to be man tears. They could just be tears.
I mean,
Let's talk about masculine like dominance of D&D and the TTRPG community.
oh, it's
No.
horrible.
Wait.
It's
Wait.
horrible.
So you're saying it's not manly to cry?
It is. Well, what is being manly?
I'm not gonna. Yeah, that I don't know.
Exactly.
I was just trying to call
Is
you
it
out. I'm not trying
human
to-
to cry?
Yes. It's
Cry your human tears.
I'm
Yeah,
not
but it's
human,
not reptile.
though.
It's not reptile to cry.
I've ascended humanity. I am onto like a god.
Ugh.
A really
But
shitty god. Like I'm
Speaking
talking like
of onto like the shitty gods, what's
Like-
going on with Scion, Daniel?
oh fuck off.
What's going on with Liam?
Talk about this.
Fuck right the fuck off.
No, he is ready to be the villain to be destroyed.
So the way we ended off with Scion last time was everybody was kind of fractured into their own separate categories. And I'm really interested to see how this is going to play out because I'm probably not going to continue on after this season.
It makes me sad.
Yeah.
I'm feeling closure with my character's arc. For
so
sure.
I'm gonna try to wrap up everything in the next few next two episodes. Which I mean, it's kind of sad, but at the same time, I feel like going forward, I'm not gonna be able to give as much attention as the story deserves and as the players deserve to receive out of the story. So I don't want to shortchange players in just for my own narcissism of keeping the game alive. Because I've played in games like that where it should have ended like 20 sessions ago and you just kind of keep playing just to come over and hang out still.
I have fully been there, and actually, yeah, my first edition campaign it ended 4 books in because there were another 2 books, but I looked at them and I was like, nah, this campaign should have ended 4 books in. Essentially, it's a 6-book campaign where you're in a city, you overthrow a tyrant. In the 4th book, you kill him, and then he comes back. You kill his ghost. You kill like other weird plots and other like hauntings and stuff, and it sort of fizzles out. And like, no, you kill the guy at the end. You kill
Right.
the guy at the end, and at the end of the 4th book, it's like, look, you kill him. Just kill him. So I was like, yeah, no, I'm not taking this to level 20. We're gonna be level 12. We're gonna kill him and just have a nice epilogue. And I'm so glad I did. Because yeah, not everything needs to stretch out 2.5 years. I don't know.
Yeah, I
I like a short campaign.
I feel like after you kill the main guy, like if you came back and he was a ghost, like it's like the DLC content that they released like years later. Like,
Yeah.
hey, y'all still want to play this game?
Yeah, it's just started to have that feeling of like, Nah. Can't
Unless
do
it's
it.
Breath of the Wild, I'll still play it. Anyways,
Is this your way of telling us you're making a Legend of Zelda TTRPG?
we can't talk about that yet.
All right.
Just kidding. But no, going back to things like people dying, I absolutely hate it when the GM is like, your character is resurrected. I'm like, no, I wanted my character to die.
Yeah.
Like Pathfinder resurrection rules, I'm like, then you're making
Weird.
death not final, and it's irritating.
Yeah, it's weird being forced into it.
I feel a certain type of way about that because, on the one hand, Pathfinder needs to have that final death moment. If you reach dying 4, you're fucking dead. There's no bringing you back. But at the same time, maybe like plot elements or something could affect it later on. But that's like player GM talk. Like, there still needs to be the looming threat of, hey, I'm just letting you know, you agreed to go into this street fight. You agreed to throw away your weapon and fight these people hand to hand, and now they beat you to death. They left you dying in a sewer. You're dead. What's your backup character? Like, there should, like, certain things need to be final, but like if it works for the plot, by all means, bring them back. It's a double-edged sword.
That goes to like GM railroading, like just deciding things for you.
Kill
Okay.
kill not your character lest you kill them with meaning. And if they die without meaning, that's what resurrection is for to me. Like when Moth died, he fell victim to an extremely talented trap that just dispatched him with critical damage and just wiped him out. Just spikes coming out of a door, murdered him. He was a very creepy undead, like druid leshy character. Just brought him back. I was reading in the book where they like there's a scene where you're on a treetop village and they call what's called like a storyteller moth, which is a literal moth that comes down and like helps them tell a story. And I was like, what if moth came back when they said that? What if they said moth and moth came back? Fully, it was already in the book that they like
ripped
do it,
out
and
of
then
Rune's eye.
that was good. And then you can kill somebody off once there's meaning behind it. But Moth isn't dead. He's very much alive and not alive and well in the Mwangi jungle.
Lurking.
I'll kill him if I need something juicy, but we'll see. I got other people to kill first.
Yeah.
I mean, that's one way to end the story, just kill everyone. So
TPKs. Oh, I don't.
We have not
like
talked
them.
about TPKs.
I don't
Go
like
off, Daniel.
Oh, so is this is it my segment now?
Please, yes, go off about TPKs.
TPKs, I feel, is lazy GMing. It's the easy way out, and if you kill a whole party because you can't rein in your fucking players, you don't deserve to roll dice as a GM. You need to take your books back to the store, get a refund, and sit down with a controller in your hand and let go of your control problems. Because if you TPK people, you really need to take a hard look at yourself, because you brought a group of people around a table to give up hours of their life building characters, investing in a storyline, and because shit got off out of hand 1 or 2 times, you then decide that, oh yeah, no, everybody fucking dies. No, you get the fuck out of here. You don't deserve to be a GM. Sit the fuck down and let somebody else show you how it's done.
Oh, okay. Go off, Daniel. This has been Go Off, Daniel, and I apologize. I fully agree. I haven't done it yet, and I would only do it if it was very meaningful. If I had like a level 1 party and it was like, you guys are frolicking, picking berries. A peasant comes, they want you to like refill a water bucket and investigate the well, and then like a meteor gets dropped on you, and then like demons come up, and it's like, that's not actually the campaign. this is the campaign, and like you have to like make them all make new characters, and you're responding to that. Like you have to have that. If you remember Game of Thrones, the book or the show, it just started off with like a bunch of people dying
Right.
because of the White Walkers. They were just like, we're all dead, and there was one survivor. Like everybody got killed. Everybody that you were introduced in the first chapter, they all died. So like, establish the connection. Don't make them waste their time with the character, but still like humanize them. Kill them. Like happens all. I mean, it happens in horror too, where it's like, oh, cute couple, they pull up, oh, they're gonna make it, and they're dead, and
So
you
my-
just sort of have to like sit there.
But like, it's still at the end of the day, like, even if you like kill off a bunch of level 1 characters, you should at least let them know, like, hey, this is gonna be a high mortality game. The chances of you dying are pretty high. So
Yeah.
just bring a backup character, because that also colors people's interest in the game they're coming to sit and spend time on. And my
Right.
biggest thing in my life is don't waste my goddamn time. If I'm enjoying something and you see that and you think like, oh, I'm going to throw some tragedy out there by killing his character and just like ruining hours that he has poured into this fictional being, like you're fucking with my time.
It's all about, yeah, exactly. It's a big yikes. I can't.
But I
Like,
mean,
imagine if like episode 31, I just kill everybody. Like, that's it. Rune dead. Salix dead. Aldonis dead. Monica still dead. Director dead. What if it was just like graveyard? Where would you go? What would you do? You have no the thread, the mission, that overarching purpose is just like severed. We're all
Yeah.
just martyrs now. Ugh, not having
and
it.
I mean, like like I said, I could go off on this for like hours, but like the thing is, you're trying to tell a story, right? So everybody is having a good time. You're telling a story, and you are portraying certain events that are happening. At what point have you decided in your head that, you know what, like I'm done with this game, so I'm just gonna kill everybody? Like, no, you can rally your strength for like give them one more session and end it on like even if you don't like give them all like the arc end that they want or that they deserve, at least give them an end that's not just, I'm just tired and I'm being lazy, so I'm going to kill everybody. Like,
Oh, yeah.
there's some
Or
rocks out
for
there by the
Pathfinder.
road. You can kick them on your way home.
Sam, have you killed characters in games
Have you
yet as a
TPK'd?
GM?
As a GM. Yes, in cult though.
Oh,
But
that's
it-
different.
You're supposed to
Yes.
TPK. That's the
That's-
point of cult.
That's
Yeah.
the
Guys.
end game.
It's
Yeah,
true.
you just-
But it's not like me as a GM was like, okay, you're dead. It was, they had a super shitty roll when like this creature was upon them, and the only plausible thing was for them to die. And so like I had, let them describe their death and like went through it, and it like worked. But
yeah.
yeah, I mean, I'm like, if you roll bad and the situation calls for it, I'm sorry, you're gonna die. If it's cold.
So I mean, like, but
Yeah.
like a one-on-one character death is different. Like sometimes you need to show the party that their choices do have consequences, and like, if a character is just blatantly refusing to play along or doing something like that, then or the dice just are truly not in their favor. Like, yeah, by all means, you died. I'm sorry. You made a poor choice and you suffered for it. But like, you're not killing the whole party, because as soon as you kill the whole party, you cut off every story tie that you have made that far. You can't progress with the story. Like, you no longer have investment, and that's what you need to drive a story.
Yeah. But there's been games I've played in where I don't know if it's just like the monsters that they had were just too strong, but like I have no idea how we literally could have gotten out of that situation and not had like a TPK. So
Yeah.
if it was like us just rolling bad or like whatever happened, and so then it ended up being like oh, the Pathfinder Lodge put out a new call, and here's a new group, and here's some shards, and keep going. So I don't know.
What I've
That'd
started
be
to
so
do is
salty.
to stack
Salty.
stack every high stakes outcome with just outcomes that have nothing to do with the party but are still bad outcomes. So like, yeah, hostage situation. The bad outcome isn't really the characters dying, it's the people dying. Or your friend is ready to swoop in as your divine intervention at the cost of their own life. They'll get you out of there though. So it's like you guys messed up and did poorly, and for that, you now suffer from seeing NPCs die or seeing like subpar things happen that don't necessarily kill the party. So like with a war, when we had the big battle, the worst they did as a party had nothing to do with whether or not they would survive, because I can't balance it that way when there's a literal army, is it just made the army do poorly. So the better you did as a group, the better all of the outcomes went for all of the NPCs and all of the combatants on your side. And instead of letting the players drop like flies, I was just killing NPCs that they already like knew and loved, to see that as the outcome of like, yeah, maybe you rolled poorly. So this guy took a spear for you.
Hey,
that
that's a
was-
good idea. Like,
That was specifically a little heart wrenching for me, by the way.
Oh.
Thanks for that.
What, survivor guilt?
Yeah, well, like, because like Salix led those people into battle, and then majority of them died. But hey,
A lot of
they
them,
won.
majority.
you
Yeah.
lived.
You got yours, buddy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I like that it's being way more creative, and like, you know, the consequence of a low dice roll isn't just death. Like there's other things that you can
Right, and
There's
like
survivor's guilt.
they
Yeah.
kind of like they kind of touch on that kind of thing in Scion. Like if you fail a roll, you don't like you nothing immediately bad happens, and then you gain momentum as well. So if you fail a roll because you're trying to hide from somebody and you don't succeed and they find you, yeah, you failed, but you have a momentum now, and momentum pretty much fuels everything in that game. So if you're not failing, you're not going to be able to do any cool shit later. That's just how it is.
Yep. That's good. I like that. It's a good way of balancing it.
But I'm a firm believer in flaws build your character. So if you the more flawed your character is, like as a base, like the more aspects you can bring to them in the long run. Like my character has OCD or something like that. Like you're sitting there and what are you trying to say?
What's Salix's biggest flaw then?
How much he loved Kellen.
Oh, my weakness is I care too much.
No, it's not that he
course,
cares
yeah.
too much. It's that he cares too much about one person. He doesn't care about anybody else. He cares about that one person.
And it's so weird because it's not like he's particularly nice or sweet to Kellen. So it's almost like he doesn't care about his fiance. He cares about not being alone. Like it's all internal. Like he only cares about like himself being with Kellen, and it has nothing to do with Kellen. That's
Maybe.
pretty rough. Not gonna lie.
But it, like also in the same fact, he hasn't really had much interaction with Kellen.
Yeah,
Like, I think
we'll get to it.
It's like it was been like 3 times they've had the chance to talk, and both times like Salix has like tried to convey sorrow that this is the first time he's meeting, and he's been rebuffed every time. So he's kind of pissed at this point. He's like, you know what? Fuck it. I've made poor life choices, and this is where I'm at. But no, like that's probably Salix's biggest thing, that he can't view things outside of his immediate vicinity of view. So if it's not in front of him, or pertaining to him exactly, he can't like overarch long run view it
Yeah, I have noticed that about him.
But like I said, whenever I build like a character, I build flaws first, and or I pick their flaws first, and it's just
I
better
like
that
it.
way. I like it.
I dig it. I should have done that with Liam. I made him just generic first, and it's like, nah, that's not cool. I should make it
Again,
something else.
here's my issue with Pathfinder again. Their drawbacks, when in character creation are horrible. Like, I like a game where you could add flaws to go into it, and it's not just your like RP side of things, but an actual flaw to kind of like build off of.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. The drawback list for your traits is just so short. I feel like.
Yeah, in first or second edition. Because
Both?
yeah, for both, they're not
Yes.
as good as they should be. It,
And no
it
one
is
wants
really
to pick
weird to me.
drawbacks, I guess, but
Well, and there's
that's
a there's
the thing
a
I like.
there's a niche for it where it is oracles, because
true.
oracles have curses, which are all pretty bad. They all do something pretty not nice, and I have homebrewed some curses before, but I wish the curses extended beyond oracle because it would be neat.
I played a grandma oracle that was blind and deaf. She was dual cursed, so.
Blind? Why would you pick blind and deaf? Wait a
Because she
second.
was a super old lady.
No,
And-
you need one. If you don't have one, you
No.
need the other.
No,
Pathfinder.
because
did
my
you
whole
do?
goal with her was not to fight. It was to chat to people to like boost them up while they were fighting. And so I'd just be like, oh, grandma says you need to widen your stance right there and hit them harder. And just,
And the fighter's like, how do you know that? How do you know that?
I can feel the trembling in the ground, Sonny. It's my favorite.
I love it.
How can she even hear me right now?
Can we have Sam come on this Sunday and play that for Sam?
As a
Well,
You need to
She
flap
died.
your wings harder.
she died by falling in a hole, so
the hole was a portal to the dream realm.
yeah. I mean,
She
Death
fell
is
in a
but a dream.
hole.
it was a trap, okay? She couldn't get out.
She didn't see it coming.
The party pushed the old lady in the hole. Like,
I
fuck
know.
this old biddy, we can't.
She never heard about help coming, so she just gave up and died.
She
That-
couldn't see the light.
Wow. And like I've heard of like really weird character concepts. Somebody I knew like dreamt up a character that was a plant that just couldn't move, had no dexterity, could not move, had to be moved everywhere. And it's like,
I love it.
how long do you play something like that? That's good if you're playing a one shot. How many sessions? I'm on episode 31 right now of my campaign. How long until that gets old? Of like the character, like we had a warg. I gave the warg a human form spell because how long can you go without thumbs before you start to feel restricted in an RPG where basically everything happens? Like,
You gotta commit to it.
I guess, but like, wow.
I love that.
I mean,
You made her
and-
blind and
That
it was great.
that is just nutty.
Yeah, it was very
What is-
sad when she died.
What's the most stubborn and ignorant thing you've ever done with a player? I mean, with your own character.
Stubborn and ignorant thing?
Yeah, just like it's meta. It's the stupidest thing you could possibly do, but like you're doing it because that's a hill your character is going to die on.
So, in my first World of Darkness game I played in, it was a mortal game, and at one point we all come to this island, and this island we knew from the start was fucked up. Like it was infested, like had a barrier of insects that you had to walk through. You felt like a strict foreboding once you were there, and we got to this cave that was dark and just gross. And there was a tree outside that had like carved initials into it. And you knew it was holding something in. You knew it was there as like a barrier of some sort. And I chopped that
no.
bitch in half.
You
I just chopped a big old chunk out of it.
That was exactly the kind of answer that I was looking for because it radiates the energy of like, this was so obviously not the play, and your character just missed it completely.
Yeah, and like it's at that point,
Clutching.
my character was from like he had a really low intelligence score, and he was from like the South, and he was like a voodoo like hopeful pretty much, and
Yeah.
he wasn't working with a with a full box of crayons there like so yeah, he was like, oh, this tree seems cool, it's got some letters carved into it, let me chop this bitch out.
I will not tell a lie. It wasn't me. I didn't do it. That, oh man. Clutching defeat from the jaws of victory.
Yeah, pretty much.
Sam, how about you?
Oh man, I've done tons of stupid shit. So like my entire grandma character, I'm like, I'm not gonna help the party. I'm just gonna be a grandma. So don't worry
Play
about
that
it.
brand. Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
I'd love to see non-combat happen more for Pathfinder parties. The
I love
Undertale
it.
player.
Yeah. But just like because she was deaf and blind, always stumbling in the traps, be like, they would describe the scene. And I'm like, well, grandma just walks forward because grandma doesn't know. So
Oh, yikes.
Grandma's just walking. Did you name her grandma?
her name was Agatha, but everyone just called her
Of
grandma.
course.
So
Of course. Look, I'm gonna be real with you. If me, you, and Ian roll up and we're adventurers, and we come out and like some old grandma's like, I'm gonna accompany you on your journey. I'm like, no, you ain't. We're all right. Look, I'm gonna point her down a road and be like, look, we're headed this way. Start walking. I'm like, all right, guys, let's go.
No, that's good. I mean, check for traps. You don't have to.
I was the trap checker.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
no.
I mean, if there is a pressure plate, grandma's gonna find it.
With her walker.
Grandma knew.
Well,
I had a cane. Okay, it was a staff, and sometimes I'd whack things with it, and I'd crit, and
is it your friends that you're whacking?
sometimes,
Jeez.
and I'd have like mute cast on me so many times because grandma would just like start rambling if they were like quiet. So yeah.
Oh, that's funny.
I love that character concept. I do. I've fooled around with making like blind and deaf characters in my head. But like I don't know.
It's hard to make the concept work.
Yeah.
To really run it for a long time. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
My
it's
grandma fell in a
interesting.
hole.
Poor grandma.
It was sad.
There's those like niche characters that are like really weird, but then you intentionally play super loose because you don't want to see them live for very long because it gets old.
Yeah.
So you play the crazy, the Rambo character because you know eventually your luck's gonna run out. There's
You
a good
need
feeling
those
to it.
sometimes.
But then you keep cheating death, and then everyone's like, "It's a miracle." You're like, "Is it? Is it a miracle?" I'm ready.
Grandma turns from nice to real mean.
Just let me die.
I
That's
didn't
why
come
I'm
to
here.
help. I came to die.
You brought me out of my retirement for this. Oh, that's good. Yeah. Okay, I feel like we just all need to play. None of us have played in a game all together, though.
Can we
we
play where
haven't.
we're all senior citizens?
Yes.
That I would like that. Just extremely old Pathfinder characters of different races.
All right, I'm down.
Like
Let's
some disease has taken all the young ones and only the older ones.
my God.
let's have Mitchell run it.
Yes.
Like we'll
Fully
play.
endorse that.
Well, I think he has a game that he's writing where we're like, it's all the elder like sailor scouts. Like they're like waiting for like the younger, next generation to come forward and fight the bad guys, and like they're waiting and no one comes, and then they're just like, oh, time to put on the old suit, and they're like in their 50s, 40s trying to squeeze into those old like short skirts and stuff, one's divorced, going through things, but yeah. We should play
That's
it.
great.
Such a weird twist.
No, I'm down.
Oh, that's
All
a
their
take.
cheesy sayings that they still have to say, but they don't remember how they go. So
I would I want to play a game where it's just. I mean, for Pathfinder, the spirit of Pathfinder is playing a diverse group of players. I would love to just play all the same character.
Like
We're all
the hobbits,
dwarf fighters. We're all dwarf clerics of the same god. But then like you have to it forces a new perspective where you have to find your character's originality within a niche, and it's so different. So like typically with fantasy you want everyone to seem different. So you're like, look, you're half dragon, you have no hair, and you're 9 feet tall. You're actually just a foot tall and on fire. Like, and it's so easy to tell these people apart. But what if you had to just be like, I'm your twin brother, but I'm funnier than you, and my house is nice. Like, but that's it. That's all you. Because like you're the same race, you're the same age, you look the same. So it would have to force like a player to really be their best in role playing, because you have to somehow be distinguishable from this person.
Are you trying to give me an identity crisis right now? Because
with
I'm
Science.
having like I'm thinking about playing this game, like having a mini panic attack, like, oh shit.
Kill your brother.
okay,
Kills
you're
that
all
straight.
Sam. So
You're not my supervisor.
We're at all Sam in this group.
Yeah.
A tale of 3 Sams.
There's not Ian or Daniel. There's only Sam.
Yes, we are Legion.
Collectively, we are Sam.
I've taken over. I love
Jeez. So how's Relics? Actually, no. How has Star Wars been? Because I know we're on break now, but I never got to play it.
Oh man,
Missed it.
Star Wars ended on a
What?
fucking cliffhanger.
God,
Really?
Alex, if you're watching, I love
R-
you.
Right. I also
It ended
love
on
you.
it. What was the cliffhanger? Someone
Um,
explain.
so we for like what was it like? It was like 3 or 4 sessions. We were playing, and we were on Nar Shaddaa, which is the smuggler's moon, and Quigley had found his old friend Kay that they kind of met on Nar Shaddaa way back when. Kay has got a death stick addiction now, and he's got a bum leg and everything, and he kind of takes care of wayward kids by giving them really shitty work to do, as in like almost dying all the time. But he gives them a sense of purpose. That's really it. Anyway. So we go rescue the rest of our party that we have either sold into slavery before or sent off on the suicide missions.
Yeah.
Your
Post-
children.
Yeah,
you
my
know.
children. Because I'm a horrible father figure.
Wow.
At least you can admit it.
I am. But
Progress?
don't judge me over there.
No, it's a step in the right direction.
But we get to this asteroid where we meet up with to make the switch at, and Kay turns out to be a fucking Jedi, and he gets in a fight with the big bad that's been hunting us the whole time and doing all this crazy shit. And like Kay is like, the way Alex is describing it, like Kay's kicking ass at first, and then like you realize the big bad isn't really even breaking a sweat. He's just kind of laughing the whole time, and you're like, oh no. So it really like made you usher like hurry on through shit. And
Couldn't save them.
we were able to save the kids and I think 2 other party members. But we were not able to save Kay. He sacrificed himself. And then as we were flying away on our ship, we watched the asteroid explode. And I forget what he did at the end, but I knew it was a gut-wrenching cliffhanger.
Well, we don't know if the big baddie survived or not.
Right.
Of course.
Yeah, but it's Star Wars, so.
Yeah.
But Cookie survived.
cliffhanger.
Right, our Wookiee survived.
It's
Yeah.
so weird when you ramp up the tension and you have an outcome that you know you can't have, but you also don't know what to expect as a GM. So I will give an example. The first Spider-Man, the Sam Raimi Spider-Man, where Green Goblin is like, do you choose your woman or do you choose this school bus full of children? You can't run that in a tabletop game because a player could mess up and then all the kids would die. And that's not a good game. So like in a movie, you know it's not going to happen because you're like, I know how superhero movies work. He's going to save them both, whatever, because it's like a close call, but like he manages to nail it at the end. If you did that in a game, you would almost be inviting fate to make it so that way the worst outcome happens. And you can't really run a game where the worst outcome happens. Like you can't have a school bus full of kids just die. That, I mean, I guess you could in like a horror game, but if you're trying to do like an upbeat superhero style game or something like that, you can't really ramp up the stakes unless you're pulling your punches, if that makes sense. So like a movie where it's like, oh, you save the world, demons were gonna like take over everything, and the universe would explode. If you did that in a game like Pathfinder and the players just lost, what would you be like? And the universe ends. Good night. Make sure to like grab your stuff when you leave. Like, really? Could you end a game like that? Like, how do you keep stakes as high as you can make them feel without actually being able to follow through on the bad outcome? Because like sometimes it's not doable.
Personal arcs. You get their personal character arcs. That's how you keep them interested, and they have to have something the character has invested in the moment to make them care about it. Because if you gave Salix a choice between a random person, and a bus full of kids, he's just gonna walk away from them both. He's like, whatever. I give no shits about this situation. I got shit to do.
Yeah, and I guess that's my issue.
If
it's
you
like,
if you put Kellen on a pedestal and then you put the director and
are you gonna kill
else.
Rune? Are you gonna kill Rune? Because if you deal the damage, technically, I mean, you theoretically can. Any of you can kill any of you. That's not something I have control over to an extent.
What are your plans?
What are you gonna do? Let's pretend it's your turn on initiative right now. What are you doing?
I'm going to tell you guys to join and watch us on Sunday on 8 Hashes for Pathfinder. We'll be kicking off at 8:30 exactly Eastern Standard Time. So please come and watch us. Ian's going to be running us through this really shitty situation he has put us all in, and he gets to wait until Sunday like the rest of us.
Yeah, and Rune is first in initiative now. So I'm mad. Nobody will tell me anything about what they plan. For context, I've pitted everybody against one another, and there will be blood. That's a certainty.
Right.
But I'm mad because now the party won't tell me what they're actually doing, and they're conspiring against me after all my hard work, making them trying to kill each other.
So let me stop you right there. We're not conspiring against you. I mean, I might be a little bit because I've told you something and then you have utilized it against me before.
That would be me conspiring against you.
But no, this is pretty much I had approached Mr. Smith with a few ideas, and I was like, just to make don't sassily put your dice away.
Oh,
you continue.
I was like, just to like make it like to streamline it. You know, this is what I'm planning. That way we don't have to sit there and send messages back and forth while the scene is going on, because this is very much supposed to happen like instantaneously. Like
I like that. I really like that.
My
do you though?
favorite thing with playing with Mr. Smith is he is very much on the ball with what he is doing with his character. Like he knows the spell he's using, he knows the dice he needs to roll, he knows the position he's going to move to. And then if that doesn't happen, he knows his backup plan if something changes for the turn ahead of him.
It's impressive.
It's very fast paced, and I love it because there's not much thinking, there's just doing. So in trying to keep with that and keep the action on, I approached it, Mr. Smith, and then we kind of were like, oh well, we guess we should talk to everybody else like a little bit because
So you made a group chat without me.
we did.
Oh,
It's all out there now.
it's like, I have many group chats without me. It's okay. Talk all the smack you want.
No one's talking smack because
Please
they can
d-
catch
please
these
do.
hams.
They're talking
I've-
smack.
I feed off that energy.
Of smack talking?
I synthesize it and I turn it into good games. Talk smack all you want. I'll come at you with a demigorgon.
No one's talking smack, and I think they would know
They're-
better
they're talking
because
smack.
they catch these hams.
In the spirit of spooky season, if there's one thing you could request in a tabletop game, a fantasy setting tabletop game that's spooky, what would it be?
A bone
Sam.
dragon.
You
A
answer
bone
it.
dragon.
A bone dragon.
Oh, that's just a dead dragon.
No, I mean like a fully animated bone dragon
Oh,
that breathes
that's
out
scary.
purple plasma and has flaming, glowing orbs for eyes.
All right.
Not in Pathfinder, like, by the way. I'm just saying.
Too late. Just kidding. I can't.
Out of the ship burst.
Well, all
Torn
right, guys.
asunder.
I'm going to end this stream real quick because I'm not ready for it. Good night.
It's on Sunday. You got time.
What about you, Sam?
Oh, I don't even know. I don't have enough experience, I feel like, to even know
What-
like what's out there.
So it's hard
there?
for a fantasy setting because, like, I don't know. If I said
anything
like,
you want, honestly.
if I was like a dead body, like gets up and starts walking towards you in a modern setting, that's terrifying. Or seeing a ghost, you're like, wow. In a fantasy setting, you're like, you see a ghost and they're like, can I sell it stuff? Like that, nobody cares. They like want to. They're on the next thing. Magic is whatever. It's
Can I
already like,
sense motive? Yeah.
yeah, like can I? They looking at me like wistfully, like are they here to party? Let's go. But so you have to like really
Party?
ramp it up. So it has to be something dreadful. There are a couple of creatures that are such a way, especially since if you know how
Oh.
powerful they are. So I was like, here's this banshee that is 10 levels above you and will one-shot you, and it's following you. Suddenly there's a really real fear there. Where you're like, I actually have to hide from this thing. This isn't a combat. This is me fleeing for my life. But I guess what I'm trying to ask is like, what is really scary to you while you're playing a game like Colt?
What is really scary? I just had an idea for a monster while you were talking, though.
Tell me it.
Yeah. Just like one of those meat grinder games, you've had all these friends fall, these NPCs fall, and then at the end, this creature is just like this amalgamation of all their flesh just sort of sewn over this like mechanical sort of frame, but you could like see all their faces just sort of stretched and like peering at you, and that'd be cool.
Jurassic Park animatronic, just like with
Yeah.
them all like flayed over. It'd be like a rat king of flesh.
Mhm.
All right, yeah, I hate that. That makes my stomach hurt. Good. That's
Thanks for the
You nailed
nightmares.
it.
It talks in all of their voices as it speaks to you, just like this meshed
Simultaneously.
together simultaneously, and it's all
Wow.
discordant as it goes. And yeah, how do you slice up one of your friends' faces?
what do
but
you
it's not
do?
their
Find
face.
out Sunday night.
Yeah.
Just kidding. I can't.
Do not.
No, there will be death though.
Do not tune into that.
Yeah,
There'll be
you
violence.
just lost like an army. You have all the fodder and flesh that you need to create this creature. You just have this witch called the Sower come on and like
Sower.
has like all these
Look,
creatures.
I'm gonna stop you all right
dude.
there. This has been Short Rest. Thank you for tuning in. We're here every other week.
Yeah, he's scared. I'm taking notes. He's like, nah,
I
gotta
see his
shut it
arm
down.
over there, right? And I'm like, this is
We're out
bad.
of time.
This is a
The
bad
Sower.
time for me.
I
Sam's
think
over here
that's the
betraying
note.
the cause.
That's the note we're gonna leave on. Sam will be returning as the sower, I think. That's the
Do
twist for
not.
2 weeks from now. What? I'm gonna go vomit in a bag.
Oh.
But I think that's all we have for tonight.
I need like white contacts as I play.
Oh jeez. Yes,
Yes.
You
please.
get yourself some sclera contacts, all white.
Oh.
Well, thanks for watching, and Sam, thanks for joining us. This has been Short Rest, where we talk about um, anything that will ever come to mind about tabletops, ever.
Yeah.
Yes, fully that. I mean, I don't have another description for it other than the top of two people's heads and then whatever guests come on. But appreciate you watching. Make sure to subscribe and follow and join us tomorrow. We're doing Static Dawn, and Sunday we're doing Pathfinder. They're both at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. I'll be there for both because I'm great.
Yeah.
All right.
No lies.
See you
Good
guys
night,
later.
friends.
Bye.